The 60s and 70s Christmas was defined by the cocktail hour. Forget dinner. The real party was the appetizer spread. We're talking tinsel, aluminum trees, and trays of meticulously crafted, sometimes cheesy, finger foods emerging from the avocado green kitchen. These savory bites, built on gelatin, toothpicks, and cream cheese, were the cornerstone of mid-century holiday entertaining. They were the glorious, forgotten stars of Christmas, now largely faded. For one bright, brief era, these appetizers were the iconic taste of an American holiday. The 25 faded appetizers. Number 1. Olive and cream cheese pimento loaf spread. This wasn't a cheese ball, but a log, made by whipping together softened cream cheese with chopped green olives, finely diced pimento, and a dash of Worcestershire, then rolling it tightly in plastic wrap. The savory, slightly briny taste and smooth texture, contrasting with the crunch of the olives, made it an instant hit, always served with Ritz crackers on a glass canapé tray. People loved its ease of preparation and the festive green and red visual, making it the perfect quick centerpiece for an office party spread. It disappeared as tastes leaned away from heavily processed, spreadable cheese items, favoring more complex or natural dips. The final chilling time was crucial for the spread to hold its cylindrical shape, making slicing easier, and often a touch of mayonnaise was incorporated for extra richness and tang. Its flavor profile was deliberately mild, designed to be inoffensive to the widest possible range of mid-century guests. Number 2. Broiled oyster canapés with Tabasco butter. A sophisticated salty treat reserved for the most formal holiday cocktail hours. These involved small oysters carefully placed on miniature toast points, topped with a seasoned butter, infused with a hint of Tabasco for a festive kick. The brief stint under the broiler gave them a smoky, golden edge, and the scent of warm, broiled butter and sea salt filled the room. This appetizer spoke to the era's desire for exotic, aspirational party foods, symbolizing upscale 60s elegance. It faded as fresh seafood became less of a winter staple outside of coastal areas, and home cooks avoided the fuss of broiling individual oysters. Often, a sprinkle of fine breadcrumbs was added on top of the butter before broiling to achieve a crisp golden brown crust, protecting the delicate oyster meat. The small size of the canapé meant the entire bite, including the crisp toast and warm oyster, could be consumed in one elegant mouthful. Number 3. Spiced cranberry-glazed sausage rolls. Miniature pork sausage nestled inside puff pastry and brushed generously with a vibrant glaze made from whole berry cranberry sauce, brown sugar, and a pinch of cloves. The buttery, flaky crust gave way to the rich sausage, all balanced by the sticky, sweet-tart Christmas glaze. They were the savory counterpart to a cookie, providing a hearty, warm bite that kept guests circulating and mingling near the oven. The combination of fruit, spice, and meat made it profoundly comforting, but it vanished as focus shifted to less labor-intensive, store-bought frozen pastry hors d'oeuvres. The secret to the glaze was often a splash of orange juice, which intensified the cranberry color and brightened the overall flavor profile, cutting through the richness of the pork. The contrast of the piping hot, flaky pastry with the sweet, cool stickiness of the glaze was the key textural appeal that made them so addictive. Number 4. Celery stalks with Roquefort-Walnut stuffing. A classic cold appetizer. This was large, crisp celery filled with a potent mixture of crumbled Roquefort cheese, cream cheese, chopped walnuts, and a splash of sherry. The powerful, earthy scent of the blue cheese and nuts was a sharp contrast to the watery crunch of the fresh celery stalk. It was beloved for its simple, elegant presentation and bold, adult flavor profile, often presented alongside the punch bowl. The appetizer fell out of favor because of the intensity of blue cheese, which became less universally appealing to mainstream partygoers. The filling was deliberately stiffened with cream cheese so that it could be easily piped into the celery grooves using a pastry bag, creating a visually appealing uniform ridge. The sherry, or sometimes port wine, was essential, as its slight sweetness and depth balanced the intense saltiness and pungency of the Roquefort. Number 5. Golden pineapple cheese skewers. A perfect example of 70s fruit meat savory. These simple skewers alternating cubes of sharp cheddar or Swiss cheese with chunks of canned, bright yellow pineapple, often centered with a maraschino cherry. The sweet, tropical juice of the pineapple mixed with the sharp, salty cheese was an unexpected texture and flavor hit. Served cold, often on a centerpiece styrofoam ball, wrapped in aluminum foil, they were the epitome of kitsch holiday decor food. It disappeared when the combination of canned fruit and cheese was deemed unsophisticated, and the novelty wore off. The canned pineapple rings were often used cut into half moons or quarters, because their uniform size and sweetness made them easier to skewer and more reliably available in winter. The cheddar cheese used was typically a block of bright orange American cheddar, whose firm texture stood up well to the moisture of the fruit without crumbling. Number 6. Curried crab meat dip in a bread bowl. A warm, rich dip combining canned crab meat, cream cheese, and a generous amount of mild curry powder, all baked inside a hollowed-out round loaf of pumpernickel or sourdough. The aromatic smell of warm curry and cheese was intoxicatingly complex, a departure from simple onion soup dips. This appetizer offered an air of exotic flair, nodding to the era's growing interest in international cuisine, albeit through a very Americanized lens. The complexity of the curry flavor and the messiness of serving it from a soft bread bowl led to its eventual replacement by simpler dips. The mild yellow curry powder was usually sautéed briefly in butter before being mixed into the cream cheese, which helped to bloom the spices and deepen the flavor profile. The pumpernickel bread bowl was favored not just for its shape, but for its slightly sour, earthy crust, which provided a perfect, sturdy contrast to the rich, creamy seafood filling. Number 7. Asparagus roll-ups with ham and mayonnaise. A peculiar but popular cold appetizer involving a spear of canned asparagus rolled tightly within a thin slice of deli ham, the whole thing cemented with a layer of mayonnaise-based, seasoned cream cheese. These small, savory cylinders were surprisingly moist and salty, providing a quick two-bite punch. They were a budget-friendly way to serve a fancy item held together by a single festive toothpick. The appetizer became obsolete when canned vegetables, especially asparagus, lost their appeal as a luxury item and were replaced by fresh, raw vegetables on crudité platters. The ham slices used were always very thin and tender, ensuring they could be rolled without tearing, often a processed boiled ham rather than a dry cured variety. The cream cheese mixture often included a hint of onion powder and dry mustard, providing a sharper, more savory counterpoint to the blandness of the canned asparagus. Number 8. Deviled eggs with red beet glaze. Taking the classic deviled egg and giving it a Christmas makeover, these were soaked in beet juice after halving, giving the egg white a striking magenta or pink rim, while the yolk mixture remained classic. The look was dramatically festive, perfect for a red and green Christmas spread, without altering the familiar creamy taste of the deviled filling. The striking visual made them a holiday favorite for family gatherings, but the time-consuming process of the beet brine and the general decline of deviled eggs at parties saw them fade away. To achieve the deepest color, the cooked egg white halves were often left to soak in the beet juice, sometimes with a little vinegar, overnight in the refrigerator, allowing the dye to fully penetrate. The flavor of the yolk filling remained traditionally rich and creamy, relying on the classic blend of mayonnaise, mustard, and a sprinkle of paprika for visual warmth. Number 9. Liver Pâté Christmas Tree Spread. A smooth, savory liver pâté shaped meticulously into a miniature Christmas tree or wreath shape, then garnished with chopped parsley, pimento pieces, and olive slices to mimic ornaments. The rich, earthy smell of the pâté, often mixed with brandy or port, brought a European flair to the mid-century table. People enjoyed the formality and the visual commitment to the holiday theme, feeling quite sophisticated serving it with thin slices of rye bread. The widespread cultural shift away from offal and the effort required for shaping led to its demise. For shaping, the pâté was often refrigerated in a specially lined mold or a buttered dish before being inverted onto a platter and meticulously decorated with the edible ornaments. The typical base was chicken liver pâté, known for its mild flavor and silky texture, which often included sautéed onions and spices like allspice for a warming, seasonal depth. Number 10. Hot clam dip with cream cheese and horseradish. A robust warming dip that was served bubbling hot from a fondue pot or a small chafing dish, combining chopped clams, cream cheese, and a sharp hit of prepared horseradish for heat. The intense, salty aroma of the sea mixed with the pungent spice was a strong presence in the living room. It was prized for being a hot, hearty dip that felt very substantial and perfect for a winter party. Unfortunately, the strong, acquired taste of hot clams and the advent of much simpler, less divisive hot artichoke dips pushed it out of the Christmas rotation. The texture of the dip was thick and chunky thanks to the drained, canned clams, making it substantial enough to stand up to sturdy ridged potato chips or thick crackers. The heat from the horseradish was key, adding a clean, nasal sharpness that cut through the heavy richness of the cream cheese and the natural salinity of the clams. Number 11. Baked grape jelly meatballs. A ubiquitous party staple made by simmering frozen meatballs in a slow cooker, or on the stovetop in a sauce made from equal parts grape jelly and chili sauce. The resulting sauce was a strange, sticky, sweet, and tangy coating. The simplicity and the intoxicating smell of the simmering sweet sauce made them an absolute must-have for large, informal gatherings. The combination was loved for its novelty, but its very processed nature and highly saccharine taste eventually clashed with evolving palates. The chili sauce, often a bottled variety like Heinz, provided necessary spice and vinegar to prevent the sauce from tasting like pure candy, achieving that balanced sweet and sour profile. The meatballs were deliberately small, the cocktail size, so that they could be easily picked up with a toothpick and consumed in one saucy, sweet, and savory bite. Number 12. Molded tuna-noodle ring. Though bordering on a salad, this small, firm, gelatin-bound ring of flaked tuna, diced celery, onions, and often miniature cooked noodles, was often served as an hors d'oeuvre with crackers. The cold, wobbly texture and the sharp scent of vinegar-tinged mayonnaise binding the tuna were highly specific. Its existence was tied to the era's fascination with presenting anything in a gelatin mold, giving an ordinary tuna salad a sophisticated, structured look. It vanished once the 70s aversion to all things aspic took hold, and the wobbly texture was no longer charming. The use of clear, unflavored gelatin was essential to bind the ingredients without clouding the color, though sometimes a touch of lemon gelatin was added for a brighter, tartar flavor. Once unmolded, the ring was frequently garnished in the center with a mound of fresh parsley or a ring of sliced tomatoes to add color and disguise any imperfections in the gelatin. Number 13. Spiced bourbon pecans. Not quite a candy, these were whole pecans tossed in a mixture of butter, brown sugar, cinnamon, and a generous splash of bourbon, then baked until caramelized and crunchy. The powerful, warm scent of alcohol, sugar, and spice permeated the house as they baked, instantly shouting Christmas. They were a simple, sophisticated snack that guests could graze on near the fireplace, feeling both festive and slightly decadent. They were replaced by simpler, pre-packaged, sweet and savory nut mixes that didn't require the thyme or the strong bourbon flavor. The nuts were baked until the sugar coating was deeply caramelized and crackly, providing a hard, sweet shell that protected the rich, oily pecan inside. The bourbon did not fully cook off, leaving behind a discernible, warming, alcoholic note that made them particularly popular with adult guests during the cocktail hour. Number 14. Sweet and sour cocktail sausages with apricot preserves. Similar to the grape jelly meatballs, but with a distinct fruity tang. These were tiny smoked sausages simmered in a mixture of apricot preserves, mustard, and a splash of vinegar. The combination was intensely sweet and slightly pungent, creating a highly addictive sticky coating. The ease of preparation, just dump and heat, made them perfect for hosts rushing to finish decorating before guests arrived. It faded as the preference for savory appetizers over aggressively sweet ones grew in later decades. The addition of dry mustard, or sometimes Dijon mustard, was crucial to provide the savory, pungent contrast to the extremely sweet apricot preserves, achieving a balanced sauce. The sausages were often small, pre-cooked smoked varieties like kielbasa or Little Smokies, which held their shape well and offered a firm, meaty bite under the thick glaze. Number 15. Cherry tomatoes stuffed with egg salad. Whole, firm cherry tomatoes hollowed out and filled with a creamy, bright yellow egg salad mixture, sometimes topped with a sprig of parsley. The cold, juicy snap of the tomato gave way to the rich, smooth filling, a clever way to turn a picnic staple into a cocktail bite. They were a delightful red item for the holiday table, offering a fresh contrast to the heavier cheese and bread items. This item faded primarily due to the concern over the rapid spoilage of mayonnaise-based fillings, left out at room temperature during long parties. The small opening in the tomato was often cut with a sharp paring knife, and the filling was carefully piped in using a star-tipped bag to make the yellow egg salad look like a delicate floral crown. The tomatoes were always served chilled, enhancing their crispness and ensuring the rich egg salad filling remained firm and refreshing. Number 16. Miniature shrimp toast triangles. Small slices of white bread, crusts removed, spread with a paste of ground shrimp, egg white, and ginger. Then deep-fried until golden and crunchy. The oily, savory smell of the frying shrimp paste was exotic and inviting, a very early foray into Americanized Asian party foods. They were a high-status item representing the era's gourmet snacking trend, often reserved for the most formal gatherings. They disappeared as home, deep frying became less common, and people sought less greasy finger foods. The shrimp paste was seasoned with not only ginger but often a dash of soy sauce and sesame oil, giving it a deep, umami-rich flavor that was unfamiliar and exciting to guests. The toast triangles were served immediately upon frying to ensure maximum crispness, with the interior remaining moist and bouncy from the shrimp paste. Number 18. Hot onion puffs with poppy seeds. A simple flaky appetizer made by mixing shredded Swiss cheese and finely diced sautéed onions with a savory dough, then baking them in miniature muffin tins and topping generously with poppy seeds. The light buttery scent of the warm onion and melted cheese was deeply comforting and savory. They were an easy alternative to tedious canapés, offering a homemade, rustic feel that contrasted with the more processed items. They were eventually replaced by simpler, pre-made frozen cheese and pastry appetizers. The dough often incorporated cottage cheese or sour cream, which added moisture and a subtle tangy flavor that kept the puffs incredibly tender and light. The onions were always slowly sautéed in butter until they were deeply caramelized, which brought out their natural sweetness and prevented the puff from tasting too sharp or raw. Number 19. Anchovy spread on hard-boiled egg halves. A bold, intense appetizer where halved hard-boiled eggs were topped with a smooth, salty paste made from mashed anchovies, butter, and lemon juice. The pungent, oceanic aroma of the fish was unmistakable, demanding attention. It was a food for the sophisticated host, a nod to classic European hors d'oeuvres that showcased an adventurous palate. The intense saltiness and the powerful flavor of anchovies proved too challenging for the average guest, leading to its decline. The spread was made by creaming the butter and anchovies until perfectly smooth, sometimes using a food mill or mortar and pestle, ensuring no gritty bits of fish remained. A sprinkle of finely chopped chives or a tiny sprig of fresh dill was often used to garnish the top, providing a fresh herbal break from the intense umami flavor. Number 20. Cheddar and bacon pinwheels. This version used a basic, savory white bread that was flattened, spread thickly with a mixture of softened cheddar cheese and crumbled cooked bacon, then rolled up tightly and sliced into thin, delicate pinwheels. The soft, chewy texture and the familiar smell of bacon were universally comforting. These were easy for kids and adults alike to enjoy, embodying the casual, family-focused spirit of the 70s Christmas. The laborious process of flattening the bread and rolling them tightly was seen as too much work when pre-made puff pastry became available. The bread was flattened using a rolling pin until it was paper thin, which allowed for a tight, concentric swirl of filling when the log was sliced, maximizing the visual appeal. The cheese mixture was prepared to be quite sticky, using a bit of mayonnaise or milk, which acted as glue to prevent the pinwheels from unrolling after slicing. Number 21. Green Goddess dip with decorative vegetable wreath. The vibrant, herby green dip was a blend of mayonnaise, sour cream, anchovies, optional, chives, and parsley, served in the center of a circular platter. The vegetables, mostly celery, carrots, and cucumber, were arranged in a festive, decorative wreath shape around the dip. The fresh, bright, earthy smell of the herbs was a nice counterpoint to the heavier appetizers. It represented the small push toward healthier party food, but the unique herby flavor profile of the dip itself was eventually superseded by the ubiquity of ranch dressing. The classic green goddess flavor came from a generous amount of tarragon and sometimes scallions, giving it a distinctive anise-like depth that set it apart from other creamy dips. To maintain the visual appeal of the wreath, the vegetables were often carefully cut into uniform sticks or florets, sometimes placed on a bed of ice to keep them crisp throughout the party. Number 22. Cheese ball rolled in chopped pimento. A traditional cream cheese and sharp cheddar mixture, instead of being rolled in pecans, was entirely coated in finely chopped, vibrant red pimento peppers. The ball offered a creamy, tangy bite with a slight crunch and a wonderful, almost electric red visual that screamed Christmas. It was a stunning holiday centerpiece on a platter, demanding attention for its rich color. This specific preparation disappeared when the nut-crusted cheese ball became the dominant standard, favored for its superior crunch and texture. The cheese ball mixture was always allowed to fully chill after shaping to make the surface firm and slightly tacky, ensuring the chopped pimento adhered perfectly for a complete red coating. A touch of garlic powder and onion powder was frequently added to the cheese mixture to enhance its savory depth, contrasting with the mild, slightly sweet pimento. Number 23. Deviled ham salad canapés on rye. A simple, often processed ham spread, sometimes called deviled ham from a can, mixed with mustard and mayonnaise, served atop miniature rounds of dark rye bread. The smoky, salty flavor of the ham paste was rich and hearty. These were the quintessential no-fuss cocktail party starter, always reliable and quick to assemble, often found at office holiday parties. The rise of quality deli meats and the decline of canned processed meat products for entertaining led to this appetizer's quiet exit. The small rye rounds were sometimes lightly toasted to add a subtle crunch and prevent the moist deviled ham from making the bread soggy before serving. The deviling was achieved through a simple yet potent blend of dry mustard and a pinch of cayenne pepper, which gave the otherwise simple ham a surprising kick. Number 24. Pickled watermelon. Rind cubes with toothpicks. A truly southern-inspired Christmas offering, these small, firm, and often translucent cubes of pickled watermelon rind were served skewered with toothpicks. The taste was a surprising blend of sweet, sour, and mildly spiced from cloves and cinnamon. They were unique, colorful, and a refreshing palate cleanser between heavier bites, demonstrating a charming regional flair. This highly specific canning tradition was lost as home canning faded, and hosts opted for universally available items. The rind was cooked in a vinegar-based syrup, heavily flavored with whole spices, which gave the cubes their firm, almost crystalline texture and a warming, spicy sweet flavor profile. The cubes were deliberately cut to a small, uniform size, perfect for stabbing with a toothpick, ensuring they were not too heavy or awkward for a standing cocktail party. Number 25. Pineapple and cream cheese sandwich loaf slices. An elaborate cold sandwich made by layering thin slices of white bread with various sweet savory fillings, including a pineapple cream cheese mixture, then frosting the whole loaf with a smooth, savory cream cheese spread and slicing it like cake. The sweet tang of the pineapple filling was muted by the soft, cold cream cheese and bread. This was a peak example of the era's highly visual, sculpted food, designed to impress at holiday luncheons. The labor-intensive assembly and the unusual bread and sweet cream cheese combination were simply too complex for modern entertaining. The crusts of the bread were always meticulously trimmed, and the slices were arranged so precisely that the finished loaf appeared to be a single, seamless, and perfectly frosted cake. The exterior frosting was pure, plain cream cheese, often slightly thinned with milk, which was then decorated with finely chopped nuts or pimento to complete the savory cake illusion. These forgotten appetizers, the sticky meatballs, the wobbly molds, the improbable pairing of fruit and cheese, were more than just party food. They were the edible architecture of a mid-century Christmas, defining the warmth and shimmer of our grandparents' and parents' holiday gatherings. As tastes changed, as the punch bowl culture faded, and as families sought simpler menus, these creations quietly vanished from the table. Yet, for all their kitsch, they remain a glowing memory of America's vintage holiday spirit. A reminder that the most cherished traditions are often the ones served on a tiny toothpick.